Are you a newly licensed technician class ham radio operator looking for a starter radio? This GT-5R VHF UHF handheld transceiver from BaoFeng should be on your list. Let's take a closer look. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of electronic gadgets that catch my eye. If you find this video helpful, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. I really appreciate it. For almost a decade, when you mention starter VHF UHF radios to a new ham, the BaoFeng UV-5R was sure to come up. The UV-5R was one of the first ultra-low-priced ham radios from China that, based on sales, filled a growing demand. Even hams who complained about the UV-5R often owned at least one. Then, in 2018, the FCC issued a notice that reminded importers and sellers that devices that emitted radio frequency energy had to meet FCC rules, which included receiving an FCC certification. That set off a flurry of activity to get previously uncertified radios up to the FCC standards and to get the radios certified and listed in the FCC's database of certified devices. Even big sellers like Amazon issued notices to sellers that they would require the sellers to verify FCC certification for devices before they would be allowed on the Amazon platform. As a result, new and upgraded versions of some old standbys went to the certification labs and got FCC certification. The GT-5R is one of those radios. It's pretty much the same old friend from years ago, updated with FCC certification, including meeting what's called spurious emissions requirements. That simply means that the radio broadcasts harmonics below the limit set by the FCC to help ensure inadvertent interference in other bands. Another significant change in the GT-5R version of this old standby is that its firmware only allows transmission on the US ham bands. As hams, we know that we're given privileges in specific radio frequency bands and we're expected to operate within those limits. The GT-5R simply helps us ensure we're transmitting only where we're allowed. This is especially handy for the new ham who might inadvertently set a radio to transmit outside the ham bands. As we get started, I need to let you know that BaoFeng provided me this radio in exchange for the review. So let's take a look at what comes in the box. So here's the box that the GT-5R comes in. It's got the the BaoFeng mountain on it and the identification tag there on the top of the box showing the FCC ID number. But let's look inside because that's the important part. First off, it comes with a little bit of paperwork. This is just an invitation to register and be a BaoFeng VP. It's written in German and English. Here is the owner's manual. It's a pretty well-written book. It's in color. It's got charts. The chapter headings are in color, plus icons to explain what buttons you're pushing to do a variety of the tasks that the radio can do. If you're familiar with BaoFeng radios, none of this is going to be too out of the ordinary for you. To charge the radio, it comes with a BaoFeng charge cradle. It is the CH5 model. It takes a 10-volt input from this little wall wart, so it's not going to connect directly to your car charger. It's got a little LED light right there that'll glow red when it's charging and green when it's charged. So that's the charger. And rounding out the accoutrements that come with the radio is a little plastic bag here that's got one of the secret agent style headphone push-to-talk buttons using the K1 style inputs on this side of the radio. It has a wrist strap that you can connect to the radio. I find myself using the wrist straps more and more than I thought I might. And then a belt clip that connects to the radio itself, and the screws for the belt clip are mounted in the radio. So let's take a look at the main parts that get the radio up and running. So here are the main radio parts. The radio itself, it's got the tags on the inside there. This is the battery. It is a 1800 milliamp hour battery, so it just kind of slides in there and snaps into place. While we're looking at the back, there are the screws for the belt clip, and here is the loop for the wrist strap. And let's take a tour of the front part of the radio. As you can see, it's pretty small. The screen's on the top. It's got two lines of primary data for the frequencies, the VFO memory button, the AB button, a band button, the speakers right here, the mic is right there, a little LED that indicates when you're transmitting or not. And then the keypad, which has the menu controls across the top, and then the numbered keys with little blue letters on them as shortcuts. So, for example, this number 2 has TXP, which is transmitter power. And so if the radio was on, you press menu 2, it would go to the transmitter power menu item, and you could change from low to high. On this side, you've got the door to the programming cable connector, or to that little secret agent headset. Goes here with the speaker and microphone buttons there on the side. On this side, we've got the push-to-talk button, the monitor button, and then the little orange call button there at the top. And then, of course, the battery across the back. On the top, we've got the male side, or the plug side of the antenna, and we've got the antenna right here. So let's put that on. And a little LED for a flashlight right there. The on-off button is right there, and it'll also give you volume control. So that's what comes in the box. Next, let's take a look at some of the menu items and controls when the radio is on. So let's take a look just briefly at the menu system. My recommendation is to take a look at the user's guide or the user's manual, where all the menu items are displayed and described. Some of them are easy to understand, others not so much. So having the user's manual around the first couple of times you use it will probably be an advantage to you. So here we have the radio turned on. I have a repeater set. If I wanted to make some changes, or if I wanted to start from scratch, I'd just type in a radio frequency. Again, it's described in the user's manual. But to manipulate the menu, you simply make sure the caret is next to the line that you're working with. Press menu. In this case, it came up with menu number 0, which is squelch. And then I can use these buttons to step through the various menus. Let's just look at a couple of them here. The step is the tuning step, how much each press of the button is going to change the frequency. Transmitter power is high-low. The auto-save is on setting 3. The Vox is off. Wide-narrow is wide. The screen is bright, setting number 5. The dual receive is on. Beep is on. Timeout timer is 60. There's no DCS on receive. There's no received CTCSS. There's no transmit DCS, but on this repeater there is an uplink tone required, and that's a CTCSS tone, 91.5 hertz. The voice is in English, and then we get into some of the more not used menu items. And again, there's 33, 34 menu items. Now, to get out of the menus, we just press exit. Now, if we wanted to go directly to a menu, we can use the little blue labels on the push buttons. And so we can go into menu, and 2 takes us to transmitter high. And so to change, we press menu again. Note that the little caret goes to the second level. Now I can use my up or my down to change between high and low. If I wanted this to be on low, I'd press the menu again with the caret in the second line. It says confirm, so now that's my transmitter power on this channel. And then I can continue up through my menus, or I could exit menus altogether if that was all I was going to change. So let's do that again and just return that to high power. So we press menu and we press 2. There's our transmitter power. Move the caret to the second level. Change it to high. Press menu. It says it's confirmed. The caret's at the top menu. That's all I want. So I can exit. So that's the changing of menus here in the BaoFeng GT-5R. Same thing with the UV5R and most of these little BaoFeng radios. Again, setting up repeaters and that kind of stuff, it's just easier with the software, but it certainly can be done using the faceplate controls here as we've just seen. You've got a couple of choices when it comes to customer programming software. You can download BaoFeng software, which is the same as that used for the UV5R. You can get it on the Radioddity website. It's basic, but it gets the job done. Here's a quick overview. So let's take a look at the UV5R, in this case the GT-5R programming software from BaoFeng. As you can see, I've got my device manager here, and what I'm doing here is I've got my programming cable plugged into the computer. I'm using an FTDI chip in that programming cable. And so if I go down here to program serial port COM6, I can take a look at that, and I can see it's FTDI. And so I know that that driver is in my device manager. It's pointing to COM6, so I'm going to need that information in just a minute. So let's take a look at what we see here as the screen comes up. We've got the upper level menu. It's got file with usual Windows things, new, open, save, and so forth. Edit allows us to edit the information that we're looking for, channel information or optional features. In the programming drop-down, we can either read from or write to the radio. And in the communications, that's where we're going to pick our COM port, the one we just looked up in the device manager, and then we can exit. Here, the secondary icons do many of the same things. And so here, we can save, we can open a new one, we can read and write to the radio. So those icons are a little small, and I'm not sure that they're all that meaningful. I usually use the drop-down menus when I'm doing that. So at this point, what I'm going to do, as I've mentioned, my cable is connected, the software is running. I'm going to turn the radio on. I'm going to go to communications, and I know I'm in COM6. My other COM port on my radio was COM1, and you saw the dot came up there, but that's not the right driver. I'm going to confirm COM6. I want to program, but first I want to do my channel information. So I'm going to get that display up, and this is just the standard numbers that come in the display when it's all new. So I'm going to go to program, read from the radio, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to click read. And as you can see, it's reading. The little LED in my programming cable is blinking. And it completed the read. So I'm done with that. And not surprisingly, there's nothing there. Basically, it's a brand new radio. So this is where I would add my information. With this particular software, you can start basically anywhere you want. So If you want it to be, VHF, UHF, that's where it's going to be. Here you could type in a frequency. So let's call the 146 5200, I think, is the general UHF calling frequency. It's going to be simplex, so you see the rest of this information fills in, gives me 146 5200. If this was a repeater, I would have to program in the offset frequency here. I can put in a CCTSS. They're all listed here, as well as DCSs, or the digital codes. And in this case, it's simplex, so I'm going to keep it off. Same for this other blank. I'm going to have the power to high. I'm going to do it on wide, which is what hams normally use in these bands. I'm not going to use my PTT ID. I'm going to keep the busy lockout off. I'm just going to listen and not double on people. I'm going to add it to my scan list. And then if I wanted a name, and I know what this is, I'm going to call this VHF call. And that's what's going to come up on my radio if I choose to give the name a priority on the display. So let me make that a capital C. So I've got VHF call. Didn't like that, so it truncated it, and so I've got VHF call, which is just fine. That'll be enough of a memory aid. So that's all I'm really going to do at this point. I'm going to close out, and then I can go back into my edit, and I want to do my optional features. And because this is the full featured radio, I'm going to get a bunch of choices that I can make changes to. And so my timeout timer, I'm going to set to 60, not to 120. My squelch level, I like it about 3. I've got the Vox turned off. If you wanted to talk at the radio without pushing the push to talk, you could turn it on. You would probably want to use a low sensitivity if you're in a noisy environment, so you're not just constantly broadcasting road noise, for example. I want the voice to speak to me in English. I want the backlight at fairly bright, so I've got it set on 5. I'll leave it there. The work mode, I want it to come up in its channel mode. I know that I've got up to 128 channels. And then here on my A line, I can have channel and frequency, or I can have channel and name, or just the channel. And so I'm going to put channel and name. And then the B line, just to show you the difference, I'm going to put channel and frequency. Now, here is the DTMF stuff. Most of that's like for using auto patch or using DTMF to access the repeater if you were in control of that repeater. It doesn't apply to what I'm doing, so I'm not going to mess with it. My band A frequency mode is here. This is the frequency range of the receiver, but this is the frequency range of the radio. I've got the power set on default to low. When I change my channels, I can make a change there. I've got wide narrow set to wide. My step frequency is at 20. I'm going to drop it down to 2.5. My shift is going to be off because I can dial in the shift when I program the channel as opposed to it automatically applying a shift. And so my lighting, I'm going to have it purple when it's waiting, receiving. I'm going to have it blue, and transmitting, I'm going to allow it to be the red or orangey color. And so those I'm just going to leave the way they are. I'm going to enable the FM receiver. In my alarm mode, I'm going to put it to sight so I don't broadcast an alarm if I push the alarm button. Turn my Roger beep on, you have it off, it's totally up to you. And then TDR is the dual watch, or listening to both sides. And so I can turn that on if I want to listen to both. And then transmit under TDR star, it's going to be on the A. So if I hear something going on my B channel, I'm going to have to remember to go to AB and make sure I answer that call using the push to talk transmitting on the right channel. Here's the same information for band B as I have for band A. So that is my optional features menu. I'm going to close that. So with that in mind, then, I'm going to go back to communications. Still got 6 selected. I'm going to go to program, and I'm going to write to the radio. And so I'm going to write. Data blocks keep incrementing as it goes through. The radio little LED is flashing while it's writing. Now it's rebooted itself, and it's complete. And that's it. So that's how I'm going to use the BaoFeng version of the software. Now, let's step in and do a quick overview with Chirp. So here I've got the Chirp program loaded. So let's take a look at some of the quick differences that we're going to see in Chirp and why you may want to use Chirp instead of the BaoFeng software. So we go up to the top. We've got the same drop downs, new, open, save, so forth. We've got an edit, which is again the typical edit things. View, we can use, we've got hiding unused field, using smart tone modes, radio, downloading from the radio, and then some various help things that is populated in Chirp. Here we're going to start with the radio, since Chirp is available for many different kinds of radios and it doesn't know what we're dealing with here. So we're going to connect to radio. We're going to download from the radio. We're going to use COM6, which is what we used before. We're going to use the vendor for BaoFeng and the GT-5R, and we're going to click OK. And it's going to tell us what it wants us to do. It wants us to turn the radio off, connect the cable, mic, speaker connection, make sure the connection is firm, turn the radio on, ensure that the radio is tuned to a channel with no activity. Click OK to download the image. So we're going to click OK. And as you can see, I've got the radio flashing at me and the cloning process is ongoing. If you don't get a handshake, it's likely you have the wrong COM port. So this is the channel settings mode for my BaoFeng GT-5R. So here are my 127 channels, and then going are 128 starting with 0. And so this is the memory range. If I want to go into settings, I can go over here at the tree side and I can get into a variety of settings. So the squelch is 3, which is what I just set. Backlight timeout is at 5. Timeout timer, remember I made a change in the BaoFeng software and you can see that's reflected here. All of these same things, purple, blue, and orange are all the same. So Chirp is a more up-to-date programming and a much more powerful programming CPS program, so I'd advise using that. Here are my advanced settings. I've got my Vox off, busy channel lockout. I've got unenabled, check mark to turn it on, uncheck it to turn it off. I've got other settings I can deal with. My work mode settings, FM radio preset, the DTMF stuff, as well as some service settings here for the radio. So let's go back to memories. And one of the things that makes Chirp more powerful is the ease at which you can make changes here. And so it's just a matter of clicking. You can click drop downs. DC CSS codes are here. The digital codes are here. This is a little narrow, but they're all the same. They're standard. Just pick the one you want. Here, if you want it to be a duplex mode, you can set that, and you can make it the offset plus or minus, again, depending where the range your repeater is. The mode is FM, power is high, and then skip is whether or not you want it to be in the scan mode. Now, the other thing you can do when we've got this displayed, and this isn't a Chirp tutorial, but I just point this out kind of to whet your appetite. is that in this radio box, I can import from data sources. So I can import from DMR Mark, if it was a DMR radio, radio preference, repeater book. And so in this case, we'll just demo repeater book real quick. And so I can make a political query, that means state or county or proximity, and that is, geographical area. So we'll go with a political query. Let's go with Arizona. I'm in Maricopa County, so let's go to Maricopa. Let's pick the kind of repeater that we want. In this case, a 2-meter repeater. Go to OK. And then now here are all of the repeaters that Repeater Book is aware of in Maricopa County, and I can go and I can choose the ones I want, and then I can import them into my radio without having to type all this stuff in, which makes Chirp really handy when it comes to filling in your memories if you're going to be using a lot of memories. But again, not a Chirp tutorial. We're going to step out of this right here, but know that when you've made those changes, again, you would just upload to the radio and do what we did before. It'll go to the radio and you'll be ready to rock and roll. So with that overview, let's wrap up with some key points. First, the GT-5R is a solid choice for the new ham or a ham on a budget who wants a UHF VHF dual band handheld. Next, the GT-5R has all the same features of the UV-5R, including similar menu operations, 128 user programmable channels for your favorite simplex or repeater channels, and the ability to scan through your channels to seek out active frequencies. As we've seen, the kit includes everything you'll need to get started, including a charger and some handy accessories. Speaking of accessories, the GT-5R will work with other BaoFeng accessories you may already have, such as a speaker mic or battery extender. The GT-5R's classic form factor, low price, and solid feature set makes this a good choice for the beginner or the experienced ham looking for an inexpensive handy-talkie for his or her go bag. Again, if you found this video helpful, please click on the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. 73, and thanks for watching.